on the agenda, one of the things that is mentioned is talking about scheduling. Scheduling is going to be the biggest key because there's some people who meeting in the afternoon is just not going to work. And there's some people, for y'all, that meeting during the week, the work week, isn't going to work. And so figuring out what works is going to be the trickiest, the one with the most variance there. So before leaving, or however we want to do it, we'll figure out kind of ensemble groups and scheduling, and then Pat and I will work on where to get that placed, where you will be placed, and we'll go from there. But so this, for the rest of the year, our goal is to kind of do, not trial and error, but more or less trial and error. We're going to see how it works, and we're going to continue to tweak and refine so that this can continue to be a simple, productive program that can go forth.
Have you ever considered opening it up to the other people in the nursing home? I know myself in the past, I've gone to nursing homes and just played the piano for them. And it seems like, I mean, are we speaking only of in the room for the one individual, or can it be opened up to many? Because music speaks so to the soul of people.
Absolutely. And so I think that just kind of that's going to be figured out with schedules and with ensembles, and we'll go from there. I was just speaking about kind of this beginning group that we had. But if you're going to be playing for a larger group, there's going to need to be a bit more scheduling. And so that's with the nursing home and that sort of thing. And if you're playing in the great room at the nursing home, that's going to be a completely different visit than what this example was. But also an incredible gift and blessing to who you're able to bless with your ministry.
And those areas are organized because if you know you're going to play for a group for a time period, you get a group of people get the music together, you know it will be welcomed.
Right.
And those are special. It pulls from, people just come wandering in and wandering out, but they're still.
There's a great deal of latitude with respect to what the opportunities will be. Anywhere from individual performers to small ensembles, and the bigger the group gets, the more it would gravitate toward a common area in a retirement community. Particularly, for example, the children's choir, and particularly if a piano is required. Guitars and flutes and things are easy enough to transport. But for a 10-minute performance, we can't be pushing the pianos up and down the hall. So there's a great deal of latitude for which there's potential, and that's actually one of the things that we wanted to talk about. Is organizationally, how do you make all this go? Yeah, Keith.
Speaking of organization, it appears that these programs are going to be over and above what the deacons are already doing in terms of flower delivery and the home communities, things like that.
Yeah, that's right, Keith.
Do we need to coordinate that in any way? Do we need to?
I don't think so. I think the deacons will continue with home communion, and the flower delivery will continue as it does. Yeah.
Most of that's on Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. And the poinsettia and lily delivery and the Sunday flower deliveries, they'll all just go as they are.
Okay.
This won't impact what the deacons do with those.
So do the deacons not ever appreciate music with the communion? That could be.
There's another.
They do, but the flower delivery on Sunday takes place right at, it would be, I don't think I think this needs to be a separate, it would just be enormous to try to coordinate all of those people. And I think the home communion it's very personal and very private to those families that do that. And I think, that we can certainly discuss it down the road, but I think for right now, we're looking at this as a separate program.
There might be a point in the future at which someone would say, I'm going to go visit this person, do you want to go with me? But trying to coordinate all the different functions all at once would be a pretty big challenge.
We've been, kind of struggling with and talking about this since I moved to Indianapolis, which is 7 years now, with Shelley and what we do musically in church and really what the meaning of it is. And one of the things that I think, from what I can tell also what you just presented, is that the idea of going into somebody's room for 10 or 15 minutes and then leaving and not necessarily establishing a relationship and playing some music and leaving is not really what I'm interested in, and I'm not saying that that doesn't have a place. So this comes back to, I love the word music ministry. I don't really believe in proselytizing in any way, but I really feel that music has this portal. I just thought of that word the other day, that we don't use very much. And we hear music, but it doesn't become a portal. So I feel like it could really be a spiritual opportunity. And I would, for example, I understand and respect what you're talking about scheduling, but there might be several of us here that, like a guitarist or a cellist or a flute or whatever, where you could just go by yourself and that deacon could call you up just on the fly and say, like, have a list of names of this. That's what I'm more interested in. And I think that if we, so those of us that can improvise and stuff and just say, yeah, I actually am free at 4 o'clock on Friday, I'll go with you, because that would give me something. So I would actually be receiving communion as well and be participating in that, and it becomes a spiritual plus in my life. And I think that, that's what I liked about the story. A relationship was born, and that person hung in there. And that's really pretty amazing, because most people would have cut out after the third visit. So I think, that there's different goals, actually.
Right, right. And I think that that's one of the things that is the hope for this meeting, is to understand. So Shelley, Steve, Pat, and I had kind of our understanding on what it was going to look like. But Steve was all about, we need to get the group together because everybody has a different take, and we can develop this program so that it meets the needs of those who are offering their ministry, so that it matches kind of their vision. But also, so there's lots of moving parts. So how do we make this so that it is simple, sustainable? Because unfortunately, I'm here for 2 years. But we want the program to be longer than 2 years, So how do we make it so that it's not an additional thing on top of Pat's plate when there could be a funeral every Saturday and Pat is obligated with taking care of funerals? How do we make it self-sustaining but still meets the vision of the group? So I think that that's an excellent piece, and that involves talking to Karen as well, but we will bring it to Karen and we can work on how do we go about potentially having that be a part of home communion. And we can, I need to get my pen.
Do we have any numbers of how many people are in facilities that we may be addressing?
Actually, we do. There's a list that comes out, is it every day or every week?
Well, that's the hospital list, which is not the same
Right.
as our homebound.
Right.
The homebound people, I'd have to go through, because we do keep a list, but we also keep a list of people who have lost loved ones, and right now that list is together. So I would need to go through that list and separate out who's in the nursing homes and so forth, but actually it's probably around 75 people.
We talked also about people who may have expressed an interest in having a musical ensemble come visit them, particularly former choir members. And there are several of them.
Glad you said that, because as I was, thinking through this story, I thought, okay, what's music got to do with this? I mean, if I was Jim and I walked up to Mrs. Ellis's door and I had my guitar in hand and, hey, may I play you a little something? Who are you? I don't think that would have worked.
Exactly.
But my thought was, we're gonna have to crawl before we walk. we crawl to the former choir members or people who have been involved in music in one way, shape, or form to get our sea legs and how this thing
Yeah,
works.
find us a sympathetic audience.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, and that might be an opportunity to bring a chorus member who's here, and if that person should be in that visit.
Mhm. Somebody who, somebody
Yeah.
specifically if they have a relationship with that person. So,
And we specifically received a note that recently, that a person who was in the choir for many years is not able to come to church anymore. And so she was a specific person that we talked about,
Ah.
that would be great
Hmm.
for her to experience this, where she is.
Pat really is the center of all information when it comes to
they call it
pastoral
gatekeepers.
care. She knows, she knows the people. She has relationships. She has a tremendous sense of what will work and what won't, and how to do it, and who to pair. So we're going to be all working together to make sure the initial pairing, you know, is something that would be more comfortable, maybe not a Mrs. Ellis initially. And those are things that it would be set up ahead of time so we wouldn't be surprised. And so just kind of as an initial, people are going to have different comfort levels. I know both Carol and Deanna have done this quite a bit already. Some of us are new at it, and so we're going to be entering in at different levels, and that's okay. So it's going to manifest itself a little bit differently for everybody, and that's where, you know, when we talk and say, okay, what about this person with Mrs. Non-Ellis and Mr. Angus? But, you know, we really trust Pat and rely on her wisdom and insight and knowledge of the families. And, you know, and Pat's great about just saying, yep, I think that'll work, and that won't work. Okay, great. And that's where we go, because that's the center. And Megan is the Lake Fellow who is partnering with Pastoral Care. And so she already knows a ton just in the few weeks that she's been here. And so, you know, it would be much easier to have something set in stone, but that's, the Holy Spirit doesn't work that way, and music doesn't work that way, and we don't work that way. So there are a few things that we will have in place to start, and we just ask for a sense of grace and discovery and sensitivity to the presence in the room. I think it's going to be a really fascinating spiritual journey for all of us as well.
You know, one thing, my background, I never played piano and keyboard, but my background's nursing. And when I was listening to all this, I was thinking it might be helpful to have a little bit of background knowledge, I mean, without divulging too much private information, so that people who are going to visit these folks are aware. Are they hard of hearing?
Exactly.
Do they have dementia? Do you have to repeat yourself multiple times? These are all very things that I think, as lay people, we need to be very sensitive.
That's right, Berlin. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know that you've experienced just personally in your family.
Yes,
Yeah. Mhm.
exactly.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's one person who does have dementia that we're hoping to
Mhm.
include on this visit, and mornings work well for this person,
Mhm.
afternoons do not. And that person has care on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so it would need to be a Tuesday or a Thursday morning. You know, that kind of thing. And so again, Pat's really kind of the center, and Megan is her partner in determining the folks, and then Steve is the engineering mastermind.
One thing though that comes to mind with respect to this dialogue here, and it sort of feeds into Deanna's comments. There will be sort of discouraging results sometimes, but this is not about us.
That's exactly right.
Exactly.
So just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
It's not a rejection
That's right.
of you personally.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's
right. Shut the door.
That's
uh,
exactly
You
right,
know?
Carolyn.
You have to remember that.
You can make all the
Yeah.
plans you want, but if you're dealing with somebody who can't remember what the schedule is,
Yes.
or who is on some sort of medication,
Yes.
those are just things that you deal with.
The most important thing for Pat is logging. Pat needs to know who was seen and by what kind of updates, that sort of thing is very helpful for Pat, because again, she is the gatekeeper, the cornerstone of the pastoral care department.
Okay.
And so Shelley has a program that we're going to be using called Base Camp, which is easy to accessible, and is it confidential as well?
The only people who will be able to see this information are the people in this room.
Okay.
And it's very easy. You really don't have to know anything about it. Carol Baker introduced the music department to it, and that's how we do a lot of our kind of project management that has different brains. You don't need to write anything, because what will happen is you will receive an email inviting you to join Basecamp. And so you will just click on the link. It'll ask you for a login name and to set up a password. And it will take you right to the Pastoral Care Music Ministry, is what it will say. And there are several screens. The only one that you will need to worry about initially is just one that says Documents. You just click on Documents and it'll say Log. And then you will be asked to put in your name, the person you went to see, the date you went to see them, and then you can do as much or as little reflection as you would like, because it's something that we all can reflect on together. We can say, yay, great job, to each other. You can respond to it. And it's something that you can access just on the internet at any time. And we don't need to coordinate communications. You just dump the information in this one place.
And there's an app for your phone too, so you can do it on your phone.
Yes.
Is it a scheduling tool?
It can be. We can post the schedule there. We could collect the information for schedules there. Exactly what to do.